Hi everyone, Amy here checking in midweek on our week 8 surprising reversal discussion. And I think everyone's done a really good job so far. This is actually our last regular discussion of the semester because next week is going to be our rough draft workshop discussion for the argument essay. So we are definitely nearing the end, and so I appreciate everyone's hard work on this to kind of finish strong and wrap up our last actual activity discussion with some productive writing that you can use for your drafting of your essay. Everyone overall, like I said, did a really good job. Everyone was able to successfully execute the connection of a counter-argument to their overall claim, although everyone's claims are kind of in different levels of development at this point. None of you forgot to include the counter-argument at the beginning, so that was great. Most of what I'm going to talk about today is about the kinds of transitions you're using to move in and out of the counter-argument and your actual thesis, and not to downplay that or make it seem like that's not important, because it is, but at least all of you have the substance there, and we're just going to try to maybe find some ways to pull it off with a little bit more finesse. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the fact that for the most part, I think almost all of you have pretty good topics that will be appropriate for the academic audience that you're writing for. A couple people who posted later last night, I was a little bit concerned about the academic nature of your topics, wondering if an academic audience would really find it to be a relevant topic, so you might want to take that into consideration now that you have read what your other peers are writing about. But on the whole, or for the most part, it seems like almost all of you have a good topic that's definitely going to work for the assignment, and so that's kind of your first step toward being successful, is choosing a topic that's actually going to work to fulfill the requirements of what you need to do. And then the second step, I guess, beyond that would be just coming up with a strong thesis that will kind of walk you through the different parts of your essay and in fact help you write the essay. So that's what I'm going to try to talk about for the most part today in my updates here. Now, because you guys all did a really good job with this, I didn't pull out specific quotes to highlight like I normally would in a separate document. I just wanted to kind of pull up some of the threads and show you what you guys were saying in your original post, and also to each other in the comments that have already come through. And I usually kind of work backwards here from the earliest post to the most recent. So, Cassandra here has posted a thesis that I wanted to weigh in on earlier in the week. She's done a really good job with the surprising reversal structure. Many people might think X, however, I'm going to tell you why. You know, good job with transition words here, but I wanted to point out that you should actually not be citing specific evidence or any detailed information in your thesis, but rather focusing on kind of just creating a map of supporting points in connection to an overall central claim or larger thesis statement. And so I had weighed in on that earlier in the week, and then Cassandra came back and said, you know, thank you for the feedback, I might be confused. When reworking the thesis, would it make more sense to write, many people might think that drinking coffee every day is bad for your health, yet consuming 5 cups per day can be associated with decreased risk of heart failure compared to not drinking any. And I wanted to pull this up for everyone to see here because it's a really good question, and it kind of exemplifies what I was just mentioning in terms of writing a thesis statement that will help you actually write the rest of the paper and will help walk you through the different parts of the essay as you write it and moving from paragraph to paragraph. So Cassandra, yes, this is definitely an improvement from what you have because you've eliminated the reference to the meta-analysis. You know, certainly you do want to have this evidence in your discussion, but the thesis really needs to be a very tightly packed, condensed statement, and so there's not really room to cite the evidence in the thesis itself, but the beauty of the thesis is it maps out all the different points that you're going to write individual paragraphs about later, And so then you will have a paragraph where you can actually include this evidence. And you can kind of liken this to way back at the beginning of the semester when we were doing those summary essays and I asked you to identify the writer's thesis and main supporting points and leave out any evidence in the summary. So think about your thesis as kind of like the summary of your discussion. It's not going to have the evidence in there, but it will map out the points, and then each of those points you touch on in the thesis will be developed later where you'll have time to bring in the evidence. And so this is definitely an improvement because you've taken out that reference, Cassandra. However, I still think this may be a little too specific. You know, I think it's probably okay, but more of an issue is that you really only have one claim here, and your thesis in terms of your own argument needs to be more fully developed with all of the points that you're going to make throughout the discussion and the overall central claim that you want to tie all of this back to. So remember from your reading, you know, that you have different types of claims that you'll include in an argument. Some of them might be more complex than others, and you kind of want to have one central overall argument in connection to some smaller subpoints or reasons why you believe that overall argument to be true or a good idea. So for example here, drinking 5 cups of coffee a day can be associated with decreased risk of heart failure. So that kind of makes me wonder two things. First of all, are there any other benefits of drinking 5 cups per day? And secondly, well, based on that information, then so what? Therefore, what should I do based on the fact that it can decrease my risk of heart failure? So what you might want to add here, Cassandra, is an actual proposal or maybe a solution claim where you would say, therefore, healthy individuals should consume up to 5 cups of coffee a day to increase their health, or something like that. And then you can also add to this any other reasons why that proposal or that solution would be a good idea. So any other reasons why it would be a good idea to drink 5 cups of coffee a day. And that would give you a really complex thesis because you'd have your counterargument at the beginning, your overall central claim, which is your proposal, people should do this thing, and then your more focused subclaims or reasons why you think they should do that thing. And each of those points will get paragraphs, including the proposal itself, in the body of your essay. And so that's what I mean about coming up with a thesis that will help you write the essay, because you really want your thesis to tell you what you're going to have to talk about in every single paragraph, and then you can just kind of follow along with the thesis, boom, 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 these are going to be my paragraphs, and write the essay that way. So let me show you another example of that, because I'm fearing that it might be a little vague and what I'm saying could be unclear. So one of the stronger theses that we saw this week was from Kara. Kara executed what I'm talking about almost perfectly. So she has her transitions. Many people might believe X, however, Y, and that's the surprising reversal structure that I was hoping you would execute just at the most basic level this week, so good job. Many people might believe that physician-assisted suicide undermines the professional integrity of a physician. However, this practice should be granted to a terminally ill patient of sound mind, as it shows compassion by eliminating pain and suffering, preserves the patient's sense of dignity, and supports the right to autonomy. So this does exactly what I was just talking about with Cassandra's post in terms of laying out the counter argument, reversing it into your overall central claim, and then also mapping out your smaller, more focused subclaims or reasons to support the central claim. So you can see here that Kara is going to have to talk in her essay about the counter-argument that physician-assisted suicide could undermine the professional integrity of a physician. She's going to have to talk about the point that the practice should be granted to a terminally ill patient of sound mind. She's going to have to talk about the point that it shows compassion by eliminating pain and suffering. She's going to have to talk about the fact that it preserves dignity, and she's going to have to talk about the fact that it supports the right to a person's autonomy. So those are quite a few points that are going to need fully developed paragraphs in the body of the essay, and so you can see here how a fully formed thesis will really help you achieve that 6-page minimum requirement for the length that I'm asking you for. And it's actually a very complex, academically grounded and appropriate argument. So I think, you know, that's why I'm asking you to write 6 pages, is because you really do need this level of complexity to make it appropriate for your academic audience. And then I just want to point out again how this will help Kara write her paper. Typically you want to follow along with the points in your thesis in order in the body of the essay. However, there is one kind of logical exception to that, which is that you always want to have your most complex point at the end, which will always be your overall central claim. That's always the most complex, high-level claim that you're going to make. So what you would want to do in this case is just reserve this proposal, the fact that it should be granted to a terminally ill patient, for the end of your essay after you've already developed these other subpoints. So if I was writing this paper, if I were Kara, I would put this thesis somewhere near the end of my introduction. Then in the next paragraph, I would have a paragraph just devoted to the counterargument here, just to follow along with the thesis in order. Then I would go ahead and say, you know, however, after I've developed this counterargument in the next paragraph, this does show compassion by eliminating pain and suffering. Then in the next paragraph, it also preserves a patient's sense of dignity. Then in the next paragraph, it also supports the right to autonomy. Then, after all those points have been developed, I can provide another section developing my proposal that it should be granted to a terminally ill patient of sound mind, and that's where you'll have to talk about, you know, the implementation of your proposal, how you're going to get it done, is it feasible, who's going to pay for it, and that kind of thing. And then this was also, I just wanted to point out a good discussion, some really good comments here. So if you're looking for examples of ways you might be able to comment in the discussion over the next couple days, these are some examples of strong comments that I wanted to see. So those are good examples of feedback. And then I also wanted to highlight Sophia's post because she had asked some questions and I wanted to answer them in a way that would allow everyone else to see the answers. So, and this does speak to what I was just talking about as well. So she also executes the appropriate transitions. Many people believe X, however, Y. Many people believe the use of genetically modified crops could be the end of world hunger. However, the use of genetically modified crops creates a series of negative side effects far worse than its positive effects. And then Sophia asked, instead of being vague with those positive and negative effects, should I list the negative side effects? I want to keep the overall argument that negatives outweigh the positives, but the negatives don't relate to the world hunger point, which is the counter argument. And that's fine. It's fine to just have the big overall counter argument organized into your surprising reversal discussion. That actually makes logical sense. But I would say, as Jason replies, that yes, you do want to list your main points as to why genetically modified crops are not a good thing in this case. And then I would say, Sophia, that you still need to attach to those some overall larger central claim, such as what you think should be done, you know, something more complex like a proposal, or a larger scale evaluation. So I would say that you're definitely leaning toward a proposal here. You know, anytime you're going to map out a series of problems, your audience is going to think, well, so what should we do about it then? It kind of just sounds like complaining if you don't have an actual solution to the problems that you're laying out. So that's why we oftentimes see problem solution connected together in one claim type. Which is just a fancy way of saying a proposal argument. So in this case, I think you do need to list the negative side effects and attach a proposal, what you think should be done based on those negative side effects. And I would try to limit the negative side effects to like 4, maybe 5 at the most, 3 at the least, because you want to have some substance there, but you want to keep it, you know, reined in. This is just a 6-page paper, and so there may be a lot of negative side effects, but maybe try to group them into the largest 3 or 4, and then you can also attach that to your proposal, which will be developed in a paragraph at the end of the essay as well, but does need to be in your thesis here. And then I just wanted to point out also the importance of wording in the surprising reversal layout, I guess, or in this structure. It's very important that you use transitions. And so I wanted to point out a couple of examples of where the transitions aren't as strong. This one did okay. The person did say however, but the next couple kind of are lacking those many people believe X, however Y transitions, and it becomes difficult to tell where the counter argument ends and where your argument begins. So society says this. Okay, so I'm assuming this is not your argument, but then there's no however statement, so I'm really not sure at what point the society's opinion is reversed into this writer's opinion. And here's another example. So recent events in South Carolina, there's no distance here, so I'm not sure if this person agrees with these events or not. And then there's also no however statement, so I'm not sure at what point this person's argument begins. So don't forget those little words. It's very important when transitioning using surprising reversal. So good luck.